All right, so welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us. This time we're going to be looking at Father's Day,
Okay.
but with a bit of a twist.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at a list from the Top Tens website
All right.
called Top 10 Worst Things That Could Happen on Father's Day.
Interesting.
And
Sounds promising.
yeah, on the surface, it's meant to be kind of a humorous, lighthearted list, but I think there's always, when you look at these things, you can always kind of dig a little deeper
Sure.
and maybe find some deeper meaning in there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think humor often, can mask a lot of our anxieties, especially when it comes to family and societal expectations.
Yeah.
So I think this list could be a really great way to kind of explore some of those underlying tensions.
Yeah, and right off the bat, the list hits us with father dies. And I have to admit, that one's a little jarring
Yeah.
when you see it next to, he makes you watch Big Brother.
Right.
And there's even a user comment from somebody whose grandpa actually passed away on Father's Day, so it makes it all the more poignant.
Yeah, it is a stark reminder that, holidays are kind of a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can amplify the joy of connection, but they can also amplify the potential for loss. And I think this really speaks to the fact that the idealized version of the day, often clashes with the reality that families are complex, and sometimes those relationships are marked by grief.
Yeah, it makes you think about how we deal with those heavier emotions, especially when we're, supposed to be celebrating.
Right.
But then the list kind of takes this sharp turn into more lighthearted anxieties, like forgetting a present or going to the wrong restaurant for brunch.
Right. And those entries are so funny because they're so relatable.
Yeah.
I think, we've all felt that pressure to create the perfect holiday experience. And that's definitely fueled by, all the commercialization of days like Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting how gift giving has become, such a central part of the ritual.
Totally.
And sometimes, a stressful one.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we're trying to buy our way into a Hallmark version of Father's Day.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I remember one time I gave my dad a book about fly fishing.
Okay.
Turns out he's terrified of fish.
Oh, no.
Not my finest moment.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny. Where I think this list gets really interesting is where it kind of exposes that generational design. He makes you watch Big Brother getting a Justin Bieber album as a gift.
Right. It's not just about, like, different tastes in entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I think these entries really reveal how humor is kind of used to navigate power dynamics between generations.
Okay.
Children kind of poking fun at their parents' outdated preferences.
Yeah.
Parents bemoaning the things that their kids are subjecting them to.
So it's almost like a subversive way for kids to express those frustrations that they might not feel comfortable voicing them to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a safe space to kind of poke fun at these authority figures, even if it's, just through anonymous contributions to a humorous list.
Yeah.
And it also reminds us that every generation kind of feels misunderstood by the one that came before. It's like this timeless cycle.
Which makes me wonder, what will future generations make fun of about us?
Yeah.
What will be the Big Brother of 20 years from now? But before we spiral into an existential crisis about the future of entertainment, we have to address the elephant in the room. Or rather, the toe in the room.
Okay.
Your dad wants you to suck his toes. I'm sorry, I had to go there.
All right.
It had to be done.
Okay.
Um,
Well, while the list is clearly meant for laughs, I think sometimes those really outlandish scenarios can reveal something a little bit deeper. This one, for example, could tap into anxieties about unpredictable events or kind of crossing social boundaries, even if it's, highly improbable.
Yeah, like our brains are trying to process those what if fears through humor, even if the scenarios are completely ridiculous.
Mhm.
And sometimes those anxieties, even the absurd ones, are rooted in real experiences.
Right. And you see that because a number of the user comments on this list detail situations that are less funny and more indicative of kind of deeper family issues.
Yeah.
One commenter mentioned their dad forgetting their brother's name, which, could suggest some underlying health concerns or memory problems.
And then there are comments about just difficult family dynamics like arguments or even violence. And it reminds you that for some people, holidays aren't always a happy time.
Yeah, holidays are almost like a magnifying glass.
Okay.
They can kind of intensify the good and the bad in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And they really force us to kind of confront our expectations and the reality of our family dynamics.
Which is why, even though we're analyzing this humorous list, it's important to acknowledge that not everybody experiences Father's Day or any holiday in the same way.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think for those who find holidays difficult, for whatever reason, it's crucial to remember that seeking support and practicing self-care are really important,
Yeah.
especially during those times when, societal pressures to be joyful can feel really overwhelming.
Right. So we've got the spectrum, right? We've got anxieties around loss, societal pressures around gift giving, generational differences, and then those entries that, make us question the very fabric of reality.
Right. And yet, it's all connected by this thread of humor,
Yeah.
this way of using laughter to process these complex and sometimes uncomfortable aspects of family relationships. It's fascinating how humor can serve as both a coping mechanism and a form of social commentary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if humor is kind of a way of reclaiming some control over situations that can feel, really overwhelming, especially when it comes to family dynamics.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It's like by acknowledging those fears and anxieties, even in a ridiculous way, we're taking away some of their power.
Right.
But it also makes me think about, the listener out there who's prepping for Father's Day.
Sure.
What can they take away from all of this besides maybe avoiding toe-related gifts?
Right. Well, I think this list is a good reminder that, there's no one-size-fits-all Father's Day experience.
Yeah.
We're bombarded with all these images of the perfect celebration,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality is far more diverse. And that's okay.
So instead of stressing about living up to some idealized version of the day, maybe the key is to focus on what makes your relationship with your dad unique.
Exactly. It's about embracing those shared experiences, even the ones that, might make you cringe a little.
Yeah.
Maybe your dad loves watching reality TV or his taste in music is a little questionable.
Mm-hmm.
But those quirks are part of who he is. And ultimately, it's those shared memories, even the awkward ones that make the relationship special.
Yeah, which reminds me of another entry on the list. Your dad forgets your name.
Oh, right.
It's played for laughs, but there's a user comment from someone whose dad actually forgot their brother's name. And it's clear that it's not a laughing matter for them. It highlights how these seemingly humorous scenarios can touch on very real and sometimes painful experiences.
Yeah, it speaks to kind of a deeper fear of not being seen or remembered,
Mm-hmm.
by the people we love. And that fear can be present even in healthy relationships.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if some of the more outlandish entries on this list, like, you fall off a cliff while celebrating, are tapping into those deeper anxieties
Okay.
about the fertility of life and the unexpected things that can happen, even on days that are meant for celebration.
Yeah, it's like those entries are giving a voice to those unspoken fears we might not even be consciously aware of.
Hmm.
And maybe that's part of the reason why they're funny. It's a way of kind of acknowledging those fears without having to confront them directly.
Exactly. It's a way of kind of diffusing that tension through humor. But as we've seen, with the user comments, sometimes those fears are rooted in real-life situations that require a different kind of response.
Yeah.
It's important to be, sensitive to those individual experiences and to remember that what might be a laughing matter for one person could be a source of genuine anxiety or pain for another.
That's a great point. And it brings us back to that idea of the spectrum of experiences we were talking about earlier. This list runs the gamut from relatable anxieties about gift giving to those outlandish scenarios that make us laugh out loud, and then to those entries that touch on deeper fears and vulnerabilities.
Right. And by exploring those different points on the spectrum, I think we gain a better understanding of the complexities of family relationships and the role that holidays play in both revealing and shaping those dynamics. It's a reminder that there's no one right way to celebrate Father's Day or any holiday for that matter.
So, as we navigate this minefield of potential Father's Day disasters, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What can they do to make the day meaningful, even if things don't go exactly according to plan?
Well, I think the most important thing is communication. Taking the time to really listen to your dad, to understand his perspective, and to have those open and honest conversations can make all the difference. It's about moving beyond those surface level interactions and connecting on a deeper level.
It's like instead of just going through the motions of buying a gift and having brunch, you're actually engaging with the person and acknowledging the complexities of the relationship.
Exactly, exactly, and that kind of engagement can be more valuable than any material gift.
Yeah.
It's about creating a space where you can both be yourselves, quinks and all, and appreciate that unique bond that you share.
It's a good reminder that Father's Day, at its core is about celebrating those relationships with all their complexities and imperfections.
Yeah. And sometimes it's those imperfections that make the relationship so special.
Mm-hmm.
They provide the stories, the inside jokes, the memories that we carry with us long after the day is over.
Speaking of memories, I remember one Father's Day when my dad and I went fishing. Well, I tried to go fishing.
Okay.
My dad ended up unsangling my line about 100 times while I mostly just admired the scenery.
That sounds like a perfect Father's Day memory to me.
It definitely wasn't the Instagram-worthy fishing trip I had envisioned, but it's a memory I cherish. It's a reminder that sometimes the best moments are the unplanned ones, the ones that kind of reveal that genuine connection beneath the surface. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into this Father's Day lit, what really stands out there? What should our listeners kind of be chewing on as they're heading to the weekend?
What's fascinating to me is how a list that's designed for laughs can actually reveal so much about societal expectations.
Yeah.
We see how the pressure to create these picture-perfect holidays
Right.
can actually overshadow the true meaning of the day.
It's like we're so focused on getting the right gift or planning the perfect brunch that we forget to just be present
Right.
with our dads and appreciate them for who they are.
Exactly, exactly. And it's not just about Father's Day, is it?
Right.
I mean, think about how this applies to Mother's Day, birthdays, even anniversaries.
Yeah.
We've commercialized these moments to such an extent that the genuine sentiment can get lost in the shuffle.
It makes you wonder if we're setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Yeah.
We have these Hallmark movie expectations.
Right.
And when reality doesn't match up, we feel let down. Maybe it's time to kind of redefine what a successful holiday looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps a successful holiday is one where we embrace the unexpected, where we focus on connection rather than perfection. Maybe it's about accepting that our dads, just like us, are flawed and complex individuals, and that's okay.
It's about appreciating those quirks, like my dad's unwavering devotion to Big Brother, even if we don't necessarily share those same passions.
Right, and who knows, maybe someday you'll look back on those shared viewing experiences with a sense of nostalgia. After all, those seemingly mundane moments often became the memories we cherish the most.
So what's the final thought you want to leave our listeners with as they prepare for their own Father's Day adventures?
Well, it raises an important question for the listener. How can you create a Father's Day that feels authentic and meaningful for you and your dad? Maybe it's about having that heart-to-heart conversation you've been putting off, or maybe it's simply about being present, putting down your phone and truly listening to his stories.
Yeah.
Whatever you choose to do, remember that it's the thoughtfulness behind the gesture that matters most.
Well said. I think we've successfully navigated this Father's Day deep dive, emerging with a newfound appreciation for the complexities of family dynamics,
Yeah.
the power of humor, and the importance of embracing the unexpected. And who knows, maybe we've even inspired our listeners to ditch the genetic gifts this year
Right.
and opt for something a little more personal, something that truly reflects the unique bond they share with their dads.
And hopefully a gift that doesn't involve any toes.
Definitely no toes. To all the dads out there, happy Father's Day. May your day be filled with laughter, connection, and maybe even a few pleasantly surprising moments.